District.
Please.
Mr. Pitts.
First up is Mark Powell.
Mark Powell, District 7. The subject came up again tonight, which is, I've made mention of this just in passing a couple of times. Retirees, government jobs. Statistics came out recently that government employees make more money on average than do private sector, which used to not be true. Government employees used to get paid more of a pittance because they got the pension. You get a pittance, then you get a pension. Now they get the huge benefits and they get even larger pension because it's based on that 6%, 9%, and then a huge percentage of your salary for the rest of your life. I say all that to say, I've suggested it before, and I'd love for all governments to think about firing/getting rid of any employee who already has a pension coming out of my back pocket, which is my tax dollar. That was mentioned tonight because of the sheriff's deputy that went over to work for the solid waste personnel, getting 9% versus 6%, so you had to do an adjustment because of that. There's so many people needing jobs, I think it's just wrong for people to dip, double dip, triple dip. I have a relative who is triple dipping. Good for him. Bad for us taxpayers. 27 years military, big pension. He had stripes. I don't think he's colonel or whatever, but whatever. Then he went to the sheriff's department, worked 12 years, bought his pension, kind of like we did for Joey Preston. He gets that pension, and now he's retired, so he's getting Social Security. Now, is that right for him? Maybe so, but is it wrong for us, the taxpayers? I think it's very wrong. There's so many people needing jobs. I think that it would be a wonderful thing to kind of look through. And if employees are already getting a pension out of some other entity that's coming out of our tax dollars, they ought to be replaced with someone who doesn't have a job. And those people can go into the private sector to get another job if they get a pension, good for them, but we don't get that in the private sector like you guys do. Number two, I think it's interesting that when we try as a government to not want to do something in the future, we show the cost. For instance, that $21,500 we spent for that auction, coincidentally, we paid between $15 an hour, because if you take and divide it by their hours, there's an hourly rate, to $68 per hour for the people who are involved in that auction. Averages out to be $26 per hour. We paid for those 828 hours to do that auction. GovDeals.com, it is a good thing. I can't imagine that not being better, to be honest with you. But we talked about the mosquito swamp, which is going to be wonderful. It does have mosquitoes, so I can call it that. Probably going to have more. Might have less. I don't know. It's probably illegal to kill mosquitoes with little things I can put in my pond. They probably can't put it down there. But if we're going to consider every minute and every hour that an employee spends to do things like auctions, y'all make, what, 35 cents an hour? So we got to start tabulating how much time we invested in you guys to go look at that swamp. I'm sure the administrator's been there. I'm sure other people's been there. If we're going to consider everything of every
Mr.
penny,
Chairman.
let's do everything of every penny.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts.
Elizabeth Fant.
I got a bullet list to Elizabeth Fant, District 3. Spay and neuter proposition, just do it. Go ahead. You got the money. Go ahead and be funding it. There was an article in the paper this week about a county, and it says that their program is working big time. They've already been able to have less turn-ins, less euthanasia, and their adoptions are up. You all are funding a lot of things in the old McCants building, Boys High building. So why don't you just buy the building that the spay and neuter is in, then lease it to them for $1 a year, just like you're doing to Salvation Army and Boys and Girls Club and so forth out at the McCants building. The second thing is water. Water brings in a lot of money. Water, sports, fountains, it's family friendly, outdoor, anything that gets families together. Up in Greenville now, they're doing great things with the Swamp Fox Run at Travelers Rest. Look at what's working in Anderson and bringing in money. The Powdersville Saluda River business, the Hartwell Water Sports coming up, the Broadway boat race that people put together the boats, tennis in Belton, soccer in Greenville, and the water park. These are the things that are making money even in bad times. Third thing, got to talk about the sheriff's budget. I love the sheriff. He's so much better than what we've had. I think he's doing a great job. But when he brings things to the forefront and he says that y'all are nitpicking or shouldn't, you're not nitpicking, you're just looking out for the citizens. And I want to point out 3 things that I know that have happened in the last couple of years that I want to admonish him on that I think are wrong. He took all the sheriff's cars and he painted them black because he didn't want them to look the same way they were under Sheriff Crenshaw. I'm sure that cost probably $100,000 to do that. Then I understand he took the badges. He didn't like the badges. He destroyed the badges. I wonder how much more that cost. And then, I argued with him about the $50,000 that he was going to put forward towards uniforms for replacement of uniforms. And then I understand in the last 2 years, he's disbanded the uniforms that he had 3 times. Now, $50,000 is for surplus uniforms, and he's done it 3 times. I imagine that's probably cost a good $200,000 too. I would like to see him not spend money on stuff like that, but spend money to help his officers who have an overload of paperwork to somehow or another eliminate that paperwork so they can get out here and actually prosecute the crimes instead of doing the paperwork. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts. Remarks from council members, Mr. Waters,
I have nothing.
Mr. Allen.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just would like to make note that this past weekend was a very, very busy weekend and a great weekend for Anderson. We had the bike races, the Criterium, the Celebrate Anderson, which did have a really good crowd over there. We had a good fireworks display. Yes, we had to cut the budget back a little this year, but it still turned out great. I'd like to have seen a little more publicity on some of these things, but so be it. And finally, I'd just like to say, Mr. Sheriff, you want a minute or two? Did you want to respond to anything? I noticed your expression back there, and I thought the least I can do is offer.
Oh, don't ask you.
Oh, ask me to. I'm not sure what badges you said I got rid of. Yeah, it's the same badges we've always had, and I never got rid of any of them. I didn't repaint any cars as we ordered cars. I just ordered them so they came painted. And the car we actually have now, the black car, costs $200 and something less to put the stickers we have on it than the white cars we have. And we still have some white cars. And I'm not sure what the other comment was, but that's good enough. Well, we got the same badges.
Thank you.
Ms. Fant, did you ever see the movie Treasure of the Sierra Madre? When the Mexican outlaw says, badges, I don't need no stinking badges. That's the sheriff. That's the way the sheriff works. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to thank all council members for a good meeting tonight, and I will have a call for a joint meeting for the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee and the council members probably next Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and I will confirm that with Ms. Edelman and make sure that my fellow council members can come. Have any items you'd like on the agenda, sure, and let me know.
Thank you. Mr. Crowder.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to thank my fellow colleagues on County Council for being so supportive on the East-West Connector. Obviously, it was a keystone event for me due to the fact that the thing went through my district, and I had the opportunity to listen to a lot of people. It was a wonderful learning experience because I got to meet people that I never did know before, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. So that was a good experience.
And you got a Marshall Home Park named after you, so I think you've done a
and I even got a mobile home park court, not a park, a mobile home
Marshall Home.
Crowder Court named for me, and so that puts me in the same league with Mr. Hayes, Randolph Hayes, because I understand that he had the same kind of situation occur with him several years ago. So,
Mr. Crowder, a lot of great officials that had buildings and stuff named after them now.
Yeah, Mr. Crowder, when you get an outhouse named after you, then you can really talk.
Might take one of yours and put on that property.
Well, keep in mind, if you remember the movie The Green Beret with John Wayne, he wanted a certain thing named after him. not John Wayne, but his, one of his soldiers. So, you know, I reckon that'll be the epitome if I have an outhouse named for me. Francis Marion Outhouse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Ms. Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick reminder, we got a letter, and it was a little late coming to us, from Mr. Bill Bates, who's a former magistrate, and he basically pointed out in his letter, and the Anderson Independent printed portions of it, but I want to get you to look at this. I want you to read it, because he points out that the same process has to be done by the solicitor's office. And I'll read you a couple of lines. He says, "This unit will not only add cost to the system, but will reduce the amount of monies forwarded to the Anderson County coffers now by the summary court. One must remember that warrants are only issued by judges, not solicitors. That means before any court action to bring about collection of the bad check through the legal system, the complainant, solicitor, or law enforcement officer must appear before a judge and present probable cause before a warrant can be issued for the check writer's arrest. Following the arrest, the same procedure that is in place already in the summary court will have to take place." And he points out that a previous article regarding the Oconee County unit bringing money to the county coffers does not state the cost of the added personnel, equipment, office space, benefits cost because of the duplication of services. I see all of you looking at the ceiling and looking other ways. I just think we made a very severe mistake putting that unit into place. And this time next year, if I'm wrong, I'm sure y'all will take your turn to remind me. But I would have really liked it if we could have had more numbers. And I do appreciate working with a team of county employees and staff and fellow council members who do try to do due diligence. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's getting late. I'd just like to say, on the check cashing thing, I'd like somebody to explain to me where the duplication is. What it is not going to do is, it's going to free the sheriff up and his department to do other things on that. Moving on, it's getting late. I want to appreciate all the council members tonight for a good meeting. And I want to thank the administrator and his staff for hard work and all what they've done to put together the two big events this weekend. I only think they're getting better and stronger, and that's the Tour de France bike race and the Celebrate Anderson. I know it's mentioned made in the paper about being a light turnout, and it was very light turnout to start with for the Celebrate Anderson, but when that thing was over with, the place was packed. Very big turnout, and very lot of that, and I know the administrator and his staff done a lot of hard work in putting this together that they wanted to get compensated for and didn't have to do, and to give the citizens of Anderson some something to do for the weekend thing, and I really do appreciate it. No objection, we adjourn.